Hi, everybody. Welcome once again to Story Hour. I'm your host, Daniel Marcus. My unparalleled co-host is Laura Blackwell, and I hope that you are all safe and healthy and taking care of yourselves and each other in really what continue to be deeply weird and troubling times. I started Story Hour in the throes of early COVID lockdown. My intention was just to create a space for me and my writer buddies to come once a week and share our work with each other and create a little bit of a community, a little bit of kind of light in the darkness and all that. And in 3 years, over 3 years, it has just grown so far beyond those initial modest expectations. Laura joined me as co-host very early on in the game, just a couple of months after I started. And we have been bringing you week in, week out, except for the week between Christmas and New Year's, what really arguably is some of the best spoken word speculative fiction you can get anywhere. So the way it works is really simple. I think of it as kind of one of the oldest forms of entertainment, which is folks sitting around the fire telling each other lies. So we do that here at Story Hour. We have two authors, a little less than 30 minutes apiece, sharing their work. Pretty simple. So this week, we're delighted to welcome Nadia Bulkin and Christa Carmen. I'm also really happy to announce that for 2023, we've received a SIFWA Givers Grant, which allows us to continue to keep the lights on, keep these virtual rooms open, and just continue to bring you Story Hour every week. We've applied for 2024. I haven't heard back yet, but I mean, come on, what's not to like? Story Hour is great, right? So also, every week we ask each of our authors to share some worthy cause that they would like us to call your attention to. If you're in a position to help, that's great financially. If not, just be aware, share that awareness with others if you're so inclined. Before we go to our authors' recommendations, though, we'd like to call your attention to how you can continue to support the actors on the front lines of the SAG strike. The Entertainment Community Fund offers a wide range of programs, workshops, support groups, and most important, online resources and emergency financial assistance to support the needs of everybody who works in performing arts and entertainment. That's entertainmentcommunity.org. So please check them out. So Christa is reading tonight for RAINN, that is Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network. RAINN is the nation's largest anti-sexual violence organization. They created and operate the National Sexual Assault Hotline. That's 800-656-HOPE. That's online.rainn.org. Hit that with an ES afterwards if for Spanish language. And they are in partnership with more than 1,000 local sexual assault service providers across the country and operates the DoD Safe Helpline, the Department of Defense. They've also carried out programs to prevent sexual violence, help survivors, and ensure that perpetrators are brought to justice. So that's RAINN.org. Sounds like a great organization, so please check them out. Nadia Bulkin is reading tonight for ANERA, ANERA.org. That's American Near East Refugee Aid. Since 1968, ANERA has helped refugees and others hurt by conflicts in Palestine, Lebanon, and Jordan live with purpose and hope. ANERA, which has no political or religious affiliation, works on the ground with partners in Palestine and Gaza, or the West Bank and Gaza, Lebanon and Jordan. We mobilize resources. They mobilize resources for immediate emergency relief, for sustainable, long-term health, education, and economic development. Their staff serve in their communities, navigating the politics that impede progress in an effort to get help where it's needed most. So that's ANERA, ANERA.org. So check them out. Thank you. And we are starting the program tonight with Christa Carmen. Christa is the Bram Stoker Award nominated author of The Daughters of Block Island, Thomas and Mercer. Boy, I have a long Block Island story for someone after hours at some time. I don't mean a fictional story. I mean some personal narrative. It's much stranger than fiction, but
Sounds
something
interesting.
borrowed, something blossomed from Unnerving. And more work can be found in Asterion, Nightmare, Orphans of Bliss, Year's Best Hardcore Horror, and the Stoker-nominated anthologies Not All Monsters and the Streaming of Hill House. She has the BA from the University of Pennsylvania, MA from Boston College, and MFA from the University of Southern Maine. Christa lives in Rhode Island with her husband, daughter, and bloodhound golden retriever mix. Christa, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Laura, for having me. It's wonderful to be here with Nadia. And yeah, I'll get right to it. I'm actually gonna read 3 pieces that are about the same length each, slightly different tones, but a bit of fun to each of them. So first up is a story called The Shivers. Gwendolyn Mears was walking to school on a warm spring morning when she was overcome by an intense bout of the shivers. Goosebumps rose on her arms, and icy fingers crawled up the back of her neck. Her body quivered like a seabird shaking water from its wings, and a small cry escaped from between chattering teeth. She was about to shrug into her favorite peach-colored sweater when the shivers stopped as abruptly as they'd begun. Gwendolyn's eyebrows furrowed as she scanned the trees, checking to see if a breeze had disrupted their branches. The trees were still. Strange, she said aloud. Who gets the shivers in the sunshine? One of Grandma Mears's favorite expressions came to her then, if ever the matronly woman had seen someone shiver. What's the matter, she would say with a teasing lilt to her voice. Goose walk over your grave? The empty road stretched before her beneath a cloudless sky. Putting geese and graves out of her mind, Gwendolyn unzipped her backpack and was making room between textbooks when she noticed something on the sleeve of her sweater. She groaned. Her mother had been giving her the silent treatment for the past week, refraining from scolding her directly for her messy room or late homework, and yet Gwendolyn had caught her crying several times. Having to scrub the rust-colored stain from delicate fabric would only make things worse. Gwendolyn pushed the sweater to the bottom of her bag and continued on her way. At school, she was disappointed to find that once again, none of the other students would say hello. She was used to being the new girl, but it had been several weeks since her family had moved to town, and she could have sworn that she'd been on her way to befriending Samantha Wilder before the quiet, freckled girl started avoiding Gwendolyn's gaze. Excuse me. Even her teacher refused to acknowledge her today, skipping from Hannah Ladone to Oscar Norton in the roll call. She was about to raise her hand to let Ms. Wendy know that Gwendolyn Mears was, in fact, present, when another onslaught of the shivers overtook her, this one worse than before. Gwendolyn braced herself, but the quivery feeling was so intense, she found it hard to breathe. She glanced up as she shook, certain Ms. Wendy would be staring right at her, a disapproving look on her normally kind face, but the woman continued to write on the blackboard, oblivious to Gwendolyn's shivers. And just then, they ceased. Gwendolyn wondered if perhaps she was getting sick. She considered going to the nurse's office when class ended, but at the clanging of the bell, she followed the other students into the hallway, abandoning the idea. She felt okay now that the shivers had passed, and besides, she was already the new girl. Did she really want to be the new girl with a strange shivering disorder? Over the course of the school day, Gwendolyn got the shivers 7 more times. She put the peach-colored sweater on and took it off again on 7 separate occasions. She was fed up with being cold and shaky and upset that no one, neither teacher nor students, seemed to notice her distress. When the bell signaling the end of the day sounded, Gwendolyn headed in the opposite direction from the other children. She would take the long way home this afternoon. The wild flowers along the graveyard wall had blossomed, and she could pick a bouquet to set upon the table for supper that evening. Maybe cheerful daisies and vivid daffodils would prompt a smile from her mother. She'd just stepped onto the hallowed ground of the cemetery when a fire truck wailed in the distance, racing closer and closer to where she stood. The truck screeched to a halt alongside her, and a fireman leaned out, his face flushed. "Did you pass a wreck?" Gwendolyn had to check behind her, as the fireman was the first person to address her all day. "No, sir," she said when she was certain no one else was around. "It's just like last week," he shook his head solemnly. "Another wreck on one of these winding back roads. Jogger called it in. Couldn't find a street sign, so we're checking all of them." The man's expression changed to one of suspicion. "Do I know you from somewhere?" "I don't think so, sir," Gwendolyn said, but she too was experiencing an eerie sense of déjà vu. Before she could come up with an explanation as to why, the shivers returned. The fireman squinted at her. "You okay, little missy?" Gwendolyn tried to answer, but her teeth were chattering too violently to respond. His next utterance was nearly drowned out by the fire truck's blaring horn. "Gotta run. You be careful out here on this road, little missy." Gwendolyn managed to lift her arm in a wave. As the fire truck disappeared around a bend in the road, the shivers stopped. "Ah!" Gwendolyn shouted. "Why am I getting so many shivers?" When an answer came from neither the crows along the archway nor the souls beneath the ground, Gwendolyn sighed, shrugged, and descended further into the cemetery along the flower-dotted wall. Before the move, Gwendolyn had liked to wander with the neighbor girls through their town's 100-year-old cemetery. They played hide-and-seek among the tombstones and used delicate paper and dangerously sharp pencils to make grave rubbings they would take home to hang on their bedroom walls. "I don't need Samantha or anyone else to come to the cemetery with," she thought. "I can make grave rubbings on my own." She scoured the epitaphs, ready to catalog the locations of tombstones worth returning to later. One read, "Here lies a girl who stood on a grave. She scared herself so, her life she gave." And another, "Below this marker, a better place to lay than entombed in a trunk on your wedding day." She had worked her way to the river when the shivers struck again. Gwendolyn sat down hard upon the crabgrass, trying to ride out the powerful chill. As she shook, she saw a family of geese marching toward the shore. 6 goslings, balls of fluff on black-webbed feet, followed their mother, her long black neck held in an elegant arch. The geese had almost reached the water when a splash came from a few yards out. Startled, the mother goose honked a warning and headed toward a collection of moss and marsh grass at the base of a mausoleum overlooking the river. As each baby goose crossed the path to their nest, Gwendolyn vibrated with a fury of shivers. When all 6 goslings were tucked in beside their mother, Gwendolyn's shivers stopped. She peered down at her bare arms, at the goose flesh that had risen there and now was gradually vanishing. Curious, Gwendolyn stood and walked toward the river's bank. She gave the geese a wide berth, straying too close to a murder of crows instead, which sent them cawing accusingly into the sky. She approached the place the geese had crossed, taking halting steps toward the grave marker that was centered there, on recently tilled earth. "Here lies darling Gwendolyn Mears. We buried her with love and tears." "Oh my," Gwendolyn said. She shuddered from the force of a sudden chill. This time, however, no goose had walked over her grave. The goslings made their way toward the water once again. Police sirens wailed in the distance, hurrying to meet the firemen at the scene of the crash. "Maybe I won't be the new girl for much longer after all," she said to the geese as they walked across her grave. "And maybe whoever comes away from the crash will help me relocate your nest." With that, Gwendolyn shivered, shrugged into her blood-stained sweater, and started toward the road. The end. All righty. Okay, I'm now going to read a story called Shadows. All right. Shadows. I've never been much into astrology, but there's something to be said for a Cancer coming home. My home is special. It's my happy place. It's all chenille throws on the love seat and hot cups of chamomile with honey. It's French toast breakfasts and afternoon naps with the corpulent canine. And tonight, it will be a movie with my husband and a delicious, drawn-out good night's sleep. I follow Bennett up the stairs, the hum of the garage door still reaching my ears as it closes. In the kitchen, I shrug off my coat, slide our leftovers into the fridge, and head to the bedroom to change. I join Bennett in the living room 10 minutes later, where I experience the first walloping sensation that something is wrong. "Did you push the couch back further along the wall?" I ask him, surveying the room, feeling altogether foolish, but nevertheless certain that something is not as we left it when we went out earlier that evening. Something seems strange in here. Bennett looks at me like I am what is strange, his glassy red-rimmed eyes narrowing before returning to the Netflix categories cascading down the screen. Unexpectedly, I'm assailed with a flash of light and the screeching of tires, and my gaze shoots to the television, too, anticipating a teaser trailer for some new action film. But Bennett has nodded off with the cursor on the last film he considered. That trailer has ended. No new trailer plays in its place. The light and sound was in my mind, I think. Some sort of flashback, memory. I shake my head to dispel this bizarreness. Of course the sound of screeching tires isn't a flashback. How could it be? A chill clings to my bare neck, and I shudder, wishing I'd grabbed a scarf before coming in from the bedroom. I glance at Bennett, slack-jawed in his slumber, snoring and angled haphazardly across the cushions, and swallow my annoyance. I had nothing to drink at dinner. No martini to complement any of the half-dozen that Bennett partook in, no shot of limoncello to wash down the meal. Why had I let Bennett drive? There's often a sobriety checkpoint on the way home from the restaurant near the casino like it is, and yet I allowed Bennett to maneuver the 10 miles home on unlit roads, past long stretches of farmland and wooded areas, before our small but well-illuminated town appeared within our windshield. Seems a miracle now that we made it home without calamity. We had made it home without calamity, hadn't we? Another flash of light, this one coupled with a scream that sounds in my head as if the screamer's mouth is pressed against my ear, blood-curdling and anguished, and somehow horribly familiar. I gasp and raise my hands reflexively. The sense that something's wrong intensifies. Like a woman in a nightmare, I approach the left wall of the room. The pictures hang straight, the light bulbs are all working, but my stomach feels like a barrel of wine poisoned by a half-decayed rat. The anxiety increases. Everything, my sleeping husband, cozy home, the lighting and the temperature, and the far-off sound of the refrigerator humming, feels suffused with imminent horror, like a threadbare rug has been laid over the newest entrance to hell. I ate a bad clam, I decide. Despite the linguine dish having tasted as it always did, I am merely passing into some sort of sickness in which psychological symptoms exist alongside physical ones. I spin 90 degrees, then back the way I came, and that is when I see it. It is on the wall to my left, but it's not a crooked photograph. It's the shadows darkening the wall's smooth surface. The shadows do not match the shapes of the furniture in the room. The shadows are of things that have never been in this room, that have never been in this world. They stretch and open in cataclysmic fissures, depicting the shapes of monsters and of men. The shadows shift even as I gaze upon them. Now the bodies twist into horrible grotesqueries. Bones break, skin splits, mouths pull into exclamations of torment. The shadows dissipate like smoke, but are instantly replaced. They shift again, and a new scene plays across the pale green paint, as if Bennett has awaked and chose a film after all. A long stretch of farmland and a car that speeds along a perilously winding road. A little girl hurrying to wheel a tricycle across the street toward home. Too late, the car swerves. The girl is tossed into the air, becomes another shadow, a body untethered from the earth. A scream sounds in my head as if the screamer's mouth is pressed against my ear, blood curdling and anguished and somehow horribly familiar. It is my scream. It's the scream I screamed when Bennett barreled into her, when her blood slicked the windshield like rain, and I sat in the passenger seat in comfort and complicity, too unconcerned with everything but my own internal world to have insisted that Bennett not get behind the wheel. I am screaming now. Bennett twitches. The room melts away, paint peeling from walls, plaster peeling from studs. The floor beneath my feet grows hot. The hallucination of my cozy home will persist no more, and I know, the way I hadn't known 1 hour earlier, that the path of least resistance is, in fact, no path at all. We will not be permitted a singular torment. We'll continue the charade of coming home again and again, only to have that home dissolve into an inferno. It's a mirroring of the little girl with the tricycle, you see. Your safe space made treacherous. The feeling that you've almost made it across the street before you're torn in two. In a way, however, Bennett and I are still home. A pair of devils come home to hell. The end. All right. Last one. Let's see. All right. So this one is called Shark Minute. And just a little fun fact, this is actually inspired by something that I used to do to torture my younger sister. So here you have it. Shark Minute. A mother, father, and 2 young girls moved into an old, drafty house a half a mile from the sea. On the first night, the sisters were to sleep in their new bedroom. Their parents tucked them in, drew the curtains, and said from the doorway, "We know the house is small, but it'll be worth it to smell the salt breeze, to hear the distant sounds of waves lapping against the sand, and you'll get used to sharing a room in no time. Just wait and see." The sisters nodded obediently and recited their well-worn lines for sleeping tight and not letting bedbugs bite. The older girl waited for the door to click shut behind them before turning to face her younger sister. Propping herself up on one elbow, she arranged her features into a scowl. "A rowboat has more space than this house." When the younger girl did not respond, the older sister's scowl deepened. "Maybe you don't mind, but I'm too old to have to share a room." She chewed her lip. "You should be in the room they want to turn into an office. I should get this room to myself." She scanned the space, pausing to take in the clock atop the nightstand. Almost asleep, the younger girl missed the narrowing of her sister's eyes, the shrewd smile that spread across her lips. "Look!" the older girl shouted, startling the younger one all the way awake. "Look what time it is!" The younger sister craned her neck so she could see the clock. 9:15, she said warily. "Exactly," the older girl exclaimed. "Exactly what?" "Exactly Shark Minute." "What's Shark Minute?" "What do you mean, what's Shark Minute?" When her younger sister continued to stare, the older girl shook her head incredulously. "Everyone knows 9:15 is the 1 minute of the night that the floor can turn to water, and the hammerheads and great white sharks circle the bedroom searching for their prey. They're hoping for a dangling foot, a hand to trail over the side of the bed and feel around for a misplaced book or a fallen teddy bear so they can have themselves a snack. The worst thing that could happen, but the best case scenario for the sharks, is when some unfortunate little boy or girl decides they need to go to the bathroom, despite their mommy and daddy having already tucked them in. When they leave the safety of their bed and plunge to the floor below, chomp! To punctuate this last word, the older sister clapped her hands and smiled gleefully at her sister. Voice quaking, the younger girl said, "There's no such thing as Shark Minute. You're just trying to scare me." The older girl shrugged. "Suit yourself, but it's your funeral if you don't believe me. And a watery one at that." Her eyes grew as big as sand dollars. "If you really didn't know about Shark Minute until now, it's a miracle you're still alive. Think of all those times you must have run back from the bathroom right at 9:14 or gone for a drink of water at 9:16. With a bit of bad luck, you'd have been fish food. The younger girl tried to put forth a brave face, but a whimper of fear escaped her. She gripped the edge of the mattress with trembling fingers and ever so slowly leaned over the side of the bed. Her blonde curls bounced as she swiveled her head from side to side, scanning the dark blue carpet, which looked very much indeed like the deep blue sea, for a slate gray fin or flash of blood-tinged teeth that meant Shark Minute was somehow and against all odds real. With the younger girl's attention diverted, the older one wrapped her hand around the glass of water their mother had placed on the single nightstand. Yet one more thing she had to share. Slick as an eel, she tipped the glass, sending ice-cold water trickling onto her sister's neck. She righted the glass at the sound of her sister's yelp and shot back against her pillow. "What happened?" she asked in her most innocent and curious of tones. "Oh, water. I felt water on the back of my neck." "Ah," the older sister mused. "Not surprising for Shark Minute. It must have splashed up with the flick of one of their tail fins." The older sister pointed to the clock before the tears welling in her sister's eyes could fall. 9:16, she said, matter of fact. "We're safe." She shimmied down beneath the covers and shut her eyes. "Well, good night." Her sister did not say goodnight in return. She stared, unblinking, at the ceiling, limbs trembling, heart pounding, and was still staring when the first shaft of sunlight filtered through the cracks in the curtains. At 9:15 the following evening, the girl's mother was summoned to their bedroom by the sound of desperate sobs. "What's going on in here?" she demanded. "Mom," the younger girl babbled, "I turned down the sheets and the clock turned to 9:15 and the floor turned to water and the—" "Story turned too scary," the older sister finished, managing to sound bored and apologetic at the same time. "It's my fault. I told her a bedtime story and got a little carried away. I won't tell her another, promise. We'll go to bed now." Their mother frowned, but seemed to accept this explanation. Her expression softened and her hand moved toward the door. "All right then, but no more stories before bed. I'd have thought you girls would be happy to spend some time together in this nice big room, not trying to scare one another silly. Now get some sleep. I'll make pancakes in the morning." The older girl took no time at all to fall asleep, but not even the promise of pancakes was enough to quell the other's anxieties. She clung to consciousness, listening for the sounds of crashing waves or breaching bodies. When sleep did claim her, her dreams were full of floors that fell into black, vast seas and creatures with quick and beady eyes, tracking her in the dark. The older sister called attention to the clock each and every night at 9:15, and the younger girl's fear of being eaten by bedroom floor-dwelling sharks grew to the point of obsession. The sight of a dark blue carpet could send her into a spiral, and every previously benign household object resembling a triangle was a great white dorsal fin shepherding her doom. Desperate to get to the bottom of her younger daughter's fear, the girl's mother brought her into her own bedroom, tucked her in, and insisted she take a nap, promising to watch over her all the while. When the girl awoke from her first untroubled sleep since moving into the old drafty house a half a mile from the sea, her mother sat next to her on the bed, gently stroked her curls, and insisted she reveal the cause of her distress. It took a while for the mother to comprehend the whopper of a tale her eldest daughter had told. When she felt she'd heard the extent of it, she tucked the girl back into her bed, though it was only 7, and went in search of her cunningly inventive firstborn. Grounded for a month, prohibited from watching television, reading books, and anything else that might inspire stories to then traumatize her sister with, the older girl pounded up the stairs. She slammed the door of the odious shared bedroom, flopped onto the bed, and cried without restraint. She cried until she had no tears left, and then she cried some more. By the time she'd finished crying, the sky beyond the windows was dark, and the house was silent. She lifted her face from the pillow in time to see her sister climbing into the opposite bed. The younger girl regarded her warily and began to suck her thumb. The older sister sneered. "Tattling on me wasn't enough. Now you're sucking your thumb like a baby, too?" "I didn't tattle," she exclaimed. "Mom made me tell. I thought that she could help. Bring in fishermen or something to catch the sharks. Transport them back to the real ocean. The older girl's glare was full of disgust. You still don't get it, do you? There are no sharks. The floor doesn't turn to water at 9:15. I made it up to scare you. I made it up so I could have this room all to myself. She grabbed the clock, the neon numbers across which read 9:15, and angled it toward her sister. Then she threw back the covers and stood on top of the bed. Don't, the younger sister cried. I believe you. I believe that it was just a joke. Just please don't jump into the water. Stupid, the older girl declared. Stupid, stupid, stupid. Shark Minute is make-believe. The splash of water that followed her plummet was drowned out by the younger sister's screams. The younger girl watched her sister flail in roiling waters, hopeless at the sight of a fast-approaching dorsal fin. The sound of their parents' footsteps came too slowly from down the hall. The seconds ticked by, steadily but agonizingly approaching 9:16. The younger girl caught her sister's gaze in that final fear-choked moment, leaned over the bed, and extended her hand. The older girl reached up from the water, and just before their fingers met, chomp. The end. All right, and that's all I have for you.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much.
You got
Christa
it.
Carmen, everybody. Great Halloween offering. It's our custom between authors to just pause for a moment, kind of a shark minute, and just breathe and let the work sort of resonate and fill us a little bit before we move on to the next one. So we're going to do that. I'm just going to take a couple of breaths.
Christa, did you used to you were the one who originated Shark Minute,
Yeah.
sister?
Sorry?
You did this to your sister.
Yes, I did. We rented a house for a year and we had to share a bedroom, and I convinced her that there was a Shark Minute.
I love it. It's so like the kind of thing that children would do. Like, and then it would like live on its own.
Yes. Yep. She had actually forgotten about it for a long time. So when I wrote this story and showed it to her, she was like mad at me all over again.
Yeah, it sounds like a mean older sister prank, sort of.
I know.
So let's shift gears. Nadia Bulkin's short stories have appeared in editions of the year's best weird fiction, the best horror of the year's best dark fantasy and horror. 13 of her stories are included in her debut collection, She Said Destroy, from Word Horde, which was nominated for a Shirley Jackson Award. 4 of her short stories were also nominated for Shirley Jackson Awards. Nadia has a BA in political science from Barnard College, which is part of Columbia, and an MA in international affairs from American University School of International Service. Her nonfiction essays on sport and nationalism have appeared in Tor, The Classical, The Diplomat, and the Battle Royale Slam book. Nadia, welcome, and take it away.
Thanks. And I really listened to your stories with interest, Christa, because the last one is a perfect tie-in, like segue to mine, which is also about sisters telling each other scary stories. So yeah, that was hilarious. So my story is called Someday You Will Regret Not Replying. And it was actually in a Halloween issue of Southwest Review a couple years ago. So I thought it would be the perfect Halloween story. Okay, without further ado. Hello, are you there? I miss you. It's been forever, Sissy. Can I call you Sissy? I know I shouldn't be calling. I know you don't want to hear from me. I remember what you screamed at me before you left town the last time. Don't ever talk to me again. Gosh, that hurts to hear from your one and only sister. How could I possibly never speak to you again? I don't have any other sisters. I don't have any other anything. And I miss you. Sissy, I miss us. Do you remember how we used to play one fish, two fish every day after getting off the bus? I picked it up from that kid Ronnie who lived down the block, the one who got sent to juvie and never came back. You pick a spot outside your house, not too far away. Walk 10 steps forward, say 1 fish, 2 fish, live fish, dead fish. Walk 10 steps back, say count to 10 and make a death wish. And then right when you feel the tickle on the back of your neck, you start your countdown and run as fast as you can to your front door. Mom hated that game. She thought we were going to break our necks running home on that busted sidewalk. But you loved it, and you wouldn't stop playing it, even after I got bored with it, even after the neighbors thought there had to be something wrong with you. Isn't she too old for that? They'd say, and Mom would blush. Funny, isn't it, how habits worm their way in? The way they itch at the bottom of your feet, the way they rewire you. Do you still play 1 fish, 2 fish on your way back to your apartment building? Do you clench your toes in your little kitten heels when you run? Do you avoid the sewer grates? You should. You don't know how easy it is for somebody to fall through those. Mom said you played it because you had nothing else to get worked up about, because you didn't have your own friends. She'd always tell me, go play with your sister, and I knew exactly what you liked to play. You like stories about shapes that crowd out the light, sounds that make your skin curdle. I did give you a choice when you were little. What kind of story do you want to hear? What kind of game do you want to play? And every time your eyes would get really big and you'd say, something scary. So eventually, I stopped asking. You got harder to scare as you got older. I used to just jab you under the blanket during scary movies and you'd shriek. That was back when Mom would tell you when you couldn't look, not that you'd ever resist looking. But by the time you got to middle school, you needed more. You even started thinking you were tough shit just because you'd trick me every now and then with some stupid jump scare video. Those weren't even real scares, sissy. You know that, right? It's just an electric shock, a teeny reminder that your lizard brain is working. But I suppose you've gotten very brave by now, sissy, living in your own apartment in a big city and everything. What do you do when you see a shadow at the far end of the laundry room? Or when you hear scratching noises when you're alone in your office? What about when a cold hand falls on your shoulder while you're waiting for the train? Do you hear Mom's voice whispering, don't look? Do you look? What about when you hear a faceless woman crying in your kitchen in the dark? What do you do then? Now I know you remember that video, the crying woman, true ghost video. Guy sets up a security camera in his house because the neighborhood's had a bunch of break-ins, records this woman standing in his kitchen crying blood. People who've only seen screenshots say it's fake, of course. Say it's just somebody in makeup, say her glowing eyes are just special effects. But if you watch from start to finish, you know it's not. You hear her crying over your shoulder, even if you have headphones on. You look into those eyes and the next thing you know, you've got the video playing on loop and it's been hours, you and this ghost looking into each other's soul while your battery drains. That's how she gets you, the crying woman. You had nightmares for a week after that one. Couldn't sleep with the lights on for months. Probably the only time Mom ever scolded me. Why would you show her that stuff? I know it seems mean, but I really was trying to help you. I'm your big sister, after all. Imagine if you went off to college thinking that the worst thing that could happen to you was Linda Blair's face popping up in a car commercial. You'd be dead meat, sissy. So I had to show you something really fucking scary. Something that would burn so deep your nerves would have to rewire around it. So deep you'd never be able to forget it. I'm still not sorry about showing you that video, but I am sorry that it made you cry. Hey, sissy, it's me again. Still waiting to hear from you. I know you must be so busy with your fancy job in your fancy city. Don't have time for your big sister anymore. What's your official title now? Junior Communications Assistant? Are you required to return phone calls? Junior Communications Assistant? I'm sorry, sissy. I shouldn't tease you. I know how hard it is to plant the seeds of a life, and I know the last thing you want is to end up rootless and lost out there, because then you'll have to come crawling home to me. So take as much time as you need to weave yourself into that fancy life. Catch those rush hour trains, drink that overpriced wine, smile at every man in a suit who smiles at you. And don't forget to glue your mask on before you leave your apartment. Just remember to scrape it off before going to bed. That fake laugh, those lying eyes, they eat away the skin underneath if you leave them on too long. Then again, maybe you want your face to stick like that forever, because then you'll get to forget that you were ever my sister or Mom's daughter, that you ever came from our shitty little town. I bet you'd like that. And I bet your mask is really pretty besides. Classy, right? Like French perfume? You probably got it at a nice department store, the kind we didn't have growing up, the kind with couches in the restroom. Bet it comes with that confidence you were always wanting more of. Bet it's covered in stories about joyrides with friends you never had, pranks you never pulled, teams you never joined. Maybe even that winged eyeliner you used to watch me put on, huh? Now you can be the pretty one. Now you can be cool. Pretend that all you've ever seen is happiness and that you have no idea how easy it is for entire families to go up in flames, for little girls to fill with dirt. Pretend that on the inside, you're not a boiling sea of blood, even though you are. Just like the crying woman. You know, a funny thing I just remembered. I don't know who first showed me that video. Isn't that weird? It's almost like I've always known about it and was just waiting to share it with you. I know that can't be right. The mind plays tricks, sissy, when it's only got itself to talk to. I worry about you, you know. I worry that you'll get yourself into trouble out on your own. Those city people in their boutique designer masks, just because they're rich, just because they went to college, just because they're funny or pay for drinks or whatever, sissy, doesn't mean you don't have to be careful. If anything, you ought to be more careful. There's good magic and there's bad magic, and it's very hard to tell which is which. Bad magic tends to look good. Good magic tends to feel bad, like medicine. I'll tell you how I know if you call me back. Maybe I'd feel better if I knew more about where you're living. Are whole buildings haunted in your city, or is it just certain floors? Does fear cut less deeply when there's always someone else around, or does it make every tremble worse? It's got to suck to know there's no such thing as safety, even in the company of others, especially in the company of others. Are there intersections in your neighborhood like the one at Harold and Jay, where you walk from corner to corner until you find the one spot where the temperature drops by 5 degrees and your hair stands on end because that's where a man whose name no one remembers once got beaten to death? I suppose in big cities like yours, people get beaten to death everywhere. I suppose the whole city is one giant cold spot, one massive mausoleum. But I understand that the lights stay on all night over there. That would be nice, I think. You're gonna laugh at this, sissy, but I've gotten scared of the dark. I don't like it when the lights go out. Don't like it when the traffic dies. Maybe it's because mom told us to always be home before midnight, and here you're nowhere to be found. I call and you don't answer. I reach out to give you a little jab, grab your little toes, and all I touch is air. Do you remember, sissy, the time that you lost one fish, two fish? You were 13. You tripped over your shoelace, and you didn't make it to the house in time. You shoved your key in the lock, and it didn't turn, just like the game promised would happen. Sometimes game is a word we use to soften the impact of a painful and predictable pattern. Sometimes games aren't fun at all. You were so scared, not only because you knew what would happen if you lost at one fish, two fish, you'd see a ghost, but this happened after you watched the crying woman video, so you knew that some fears are earned. And you were right to be scared because you did see a ghost when you turned around, didn't you? Oh, it didn't look like a ghost. Not like the ghosts we saw in movies, not see-through or floating or a ball of light. Not like the ghosts in ghost videos, either your kind or mine. This ghost had skin and flesh and a voice that cracked, didn't he? If you'd let him get close enough, you'd have found out that he had breath, too. But that ghost, sissy, was well and truly dead. Do you still remember the ghost? It was your music teacher. My music teacher, too. Coolest teacher in the whole school. Cool like somebody's big brother. Cool like a minor TV star. He always used to pay extra attention to your smart, pretty friends, and you'd think to yourself, what's wrong with me? Am I less smart, less pretty? You didn't have music that semester, so you were surprised that he recognized you, maybe even flattered that he remembered your name. You've always worried that you're forgettable. But the truth is, sissy, there are some people who you'd want to be forgotten by, and he was one of them. It's a funny thing about being a girl, isn't it? You want to be noticed until all you want is to disappear. You need to be left alone until that means you fall all the way through the cracks. You know, nobody knows who the crying woman really was. The guy who posted the video never posted again. I guess she's just another woman who got into the wrong car, trusted the wrong man, took the wrong job. It happens all the time. He looked different outside the classroom. Less like the god of his own kingdom, more like any man you might pass in a grocery store without another glance. And he actually was carrying a plastic bag, the little black kind that you get from liquor stores. He asked if you needed some help and nodded at the keys in your hand. Now, the correct answer here, sissy, would have been a calm, stern no. Maybe if you had kept listening to me instead of tuning me out, you'd have known that. I'm sure I told you. I taught you every trick you needed to survive. how to turn yourself into an eel and slip out of reach, how to turn yourself into a porcupine and become untouchable. But in this moment of truth, you fumbled. Your tongue twisted and died in your mouth, your hands froze, your feet sank into the asphalt. If they've already got their eyes on you, dummy, it's too late to play dead. And who knows what would have happened if I hadn't pulled into the driveway that very minute. Maybe you'd have become a ghost yourself. I didn't tell you this back then, but there was a part of me, some twitchy muscle in my right thigh, I think, that wanted to hit the gas instead of the brakes and feel his weakness give way to my power. Sometimes I still wish I had. I think it would have felt good. Did you hear what ended up happening to him? Mr. Music Man, he hung himself, sissy, in his jail cell. I guess the birth of such a pathetic ghost doesn't make the national news. Don't cry for that weasel, sissy, just because he didn't get his day in court. Like I always told you, everything in this world has a price. Some dues get collected in the here and now, some get collected later. I told you that because before anyone else wanted to tell you, because even the young can make very expensive choices, and we were never rich. So I know that you'll understand when I make you this promise. You will regret not answering my calls. Someday, and maybe when you least expect it, you will regret not replying. What goes through your mind when you see I'm calling? Even if you've deleted my number, even if it comes up caller unknown, I can't believe that you don't know it's me. Do you roll your eyes in irritation? Or do you shudder? Do you tremble? Do you think of the way you left me and feel just the smallest needle prick of guilt? I know you got jealous about the fact that Mom always left me in charge. You'd slump over whenever she waved you off on her way out the door, telling you to just do whatever I told you to. I remember once you even tried to say that I scared you. Do you remember that? But Mom, she scares me. God, you were such a baby. No wonder she ignored you. Because of course she had a reason for putting me in charge. I was older, and I had my head on straight, and I knew things, Ceci, that you didn't. That hasn't changed, by the way. I ran the house while she was gone because I knew where we kept the light bulbs. I knew how to write a check. I knew which neighbors to run to for which emergencies, and I could do it by myself. And maybe you were too young to notice back then, but Mom didn't exactly have the energy to deal with your whining. She was working overtime at the hospital when you started high school. Do you spend a lot of time on your feet in your fancy office job? Do you work much overtime, junior communications assistant? Mom was already at work on the night you abandoned me. Her shift started at 7 p.m. I walked in around 8. There was a party over by the college. I don't remember how I got home, but I remember it was dark in the house and I thought you were out. But then I heard you thumping around upstairs and I thought, thank God, thank God, thank God, I'm not alone. But when you came down the stairs, you didn't stop. You saw me crying in the kitchen and you ran off and slammed the door. So are the pictures rattled, even though I'd been gone for over 24 hours by then. And for all you knew, I was a missing person, even though I said your name. What went through your mind, sissy? Couldn't you tell that I needed you? I guess you were in a hurry. You had a slumber party with some other loser girls, I know that. Your first time having your own friends, and I bet you couldn't wait to scare them with one of my stories. The girl with no hands, the unlucky babysitter, the ex-best friend. Then again, you were never one to look before you jumped. For all your schoolgirl brains, you never had any common sense. You'd run into traffic just to get your backpack. Yet another reason why Mom always left me in charge. The truth is, sissy, we thought you'd be the one to get yourself killed. So I tell myself that you didn't know it was me, that you still saw the crying woman's eyes when you tried to sleep at night, and when you saw this tall, dark shape crying in the kitchen, you thought the crying woman had come for you. I tell myself that all you saw in the kitchen was a tall, dark shape without a face, just the whisper of a woman. I tell myself you didn't recognize my voice because I never cried in front of you, because somebody in that leaky house had to be strong. This is what I tell myself, that you were only saving yourself. But sissy, I said your name. What does that say about how much you cared for me? Before the drugs, I mean. Before I needed them. Before I met Peter and before he needed me. Before I became your fucked up big sister, your train wreck back home. Before all that, you already hated me. I don't think I ever said your name again. Not when you got dropped off at the cemetery for Mom's funeral and barely made eye contact with me. Not when you refused to give me a proper goodbye before getting on that bus to go to college, tapping your foot like you just couldn't wait to get rid of me. I wasn't going to fight for your acknowledgement. It was already too fucking late. Because here's the thing, sissy. For all the times that I've looked out for you, That night in the kitchen was the one time in my life that I needed you to look out for me. You could have saved me, Sissy, but you didn't. That's what I remember, is that you didn't. I have another scary story to tell you. It's a new one. I'm sure you've missed my stories. Maybe you can share it with your new city friends if you really want to impress them. Are you ready? There is a world beneath every town and every city, and that's the world of the dead. Down in the dirt, down in the dark, there are no city limits. There are no jurisdictions, no state lines, no national borders. Freedom of movement is the one benefit you get from being dead. Down in the world of the dead, we can hear you stomping and limping and dragging in the open air. That's how I know you still play one fish, two fish when you get off the bus outside your apartment building. I hear you pause at the bus stop. I hear you take 10 steps forward, 10 steps back, and I hear you run. Bad news, Sissy. You don't run as fast as you used to. Maybe you do better without the kitten heels, but honestly, I think you're out of practice. I think you've lost that drive to survive. If you want to get that edge back, Sissy, here's what you should do. Get on your knees on an asphalt road at midnight and put your ear to the storm drain. You'll be able to hear the dead, shuffling, gurgling, asking for the people they knew in life. Guarantee you'll go running back to your apartment building faster than you thought you could. Running, like Mom used to say, like a bat out of hell. And I'll be running with you in the world below. Speaking of Mom, she still asks for you. Her jaw sticks out of the limestone and digs between my bones. She still thinks it's my fault that you left town, that you were terrified of ending up like me. I think you were terrified of ending up like her, but I don't tell her that. So she says your name. She asks me when you're going to get here. And I keep telling her, soon. The dead, you see, they want. It's the one thing that never goes away. There were things I wanted to do too, Sissy, but I bet you never think about that. There were places I wanted to ruin, people I wanted to become. There were more stains I wanted to leave on the world than just the mark I know I left on you. And I would have done so much more with a gift of life, my lovely, than become someone's junior communications assistant. Most of the dead ask for people they love. Some of the dead ask for people they hate. Give it enough time and you can't tell the difference. Those details fade. It all blends together into this gnawing urge, this churning want. And before you know it, the want has become a need. Most of the dead have been waiting for so long that they've forgotten why they want whoever or whatever it is they want. They probably wouldn't know what to do if the object of their craving suddenly slid down into their arms through a cave or a subway or a storm drain. Maybe all they do is hold it still, hold it close, like a doll. But not me. I've planned. I remember. And I know exactly what it is I'll do when I finally get my hands on you. I think this is where I'm supposed to pause and say, the end, to assure you that this was just a story, and that story is over, and you are, what's the word? Safe. But there is no such thing as safety or endings, and every story I tell you is true. You'll see, Sissy, when you get here. That's it.
True horror of being the little sister.
See, Christa, it was like they're very echoes, right?
It was great, except yours was way creepier.
They're both awesome. Your
Yes.
video froze. Not still with us? I can hear you, but I can't really see you moving at all.
Oh,
Wait, who's frozen?
Nadia?
I'm
I
frozen.
can see, I
Oh,
can see
Christa,
you,
I'm sorry.
Nadia. I'm frozen?
No, not for me.
No one's
Um,
frozen. Dan
it
is
must be
haunted.
me locally here. Well, thank you so much, both of you. Really wonderful first story hour before Halloween program. Really lovely work. Nadia Bulkin, Christa Carmen, thanks so much for joining us tonight. And thank you all out there for coming back once again to another week of Story Hour. And thanks to my fabulous co-host, Laura Blackwell, without whom I probably still wouldn't be doing this. So thanks to Sifla. And next week, please come back because we are happy to welcome Elaine Bowie and Jordan Corella. So that promises to be a great program. Until
And
then,
Daniel,
yes.
I did math. Elvelon Bowie is our 200th reader.
Wow.
That's impressive.
That's amazing.
That is
Congrats.
awesome. Yeah. That's really wild. That's crazy. 200th reader. Unreal. Wow. Okay, well, there will be prizes if you come next week. No, I'm completely lying. We won't have prizes, but please come back.
Free story for everybody.
Oh, well, yeah,
surprise.
that's the problem. Of course.
I mean, you just get to listen to it. You don't actually get rights to it or anything, but free stories.
Great point. Great point. All right. See you next time, everybody.
Thanks so much.
Thank
Bye.
you.